Hello, I'm Gary Greenwood. We're going to be looking at two very different editing systems, Final Cut Pro 10 and Edius 7. This is not a tutorial by any means, and it's not to find out which is better than the other. It's just a short review to show how very different these two editing systems perform. Edius is PC based and Final Cut Pro 10 runs on a Mac. So let's have a quick look at these two computers before we start. Our PC has a 3.2 Intel i7 processor, 14GB of RAM, and it has a solid state system drive. It has two internal 2TB hard drives for video editing, two computer monitors, and an LED TV from a HD Sparks card. The iMac is running a 3.4 Intel i7 processor. It has a GeForce 680 MX graphics card with 2GB of RAM installed. It has 32GB of fast RAM and a 1TB Fusion hybrid system drive. Video is edited on an external 4TB Thunderbolt RAID. This one has a 27-inch screen. Watching 4K footage from YouTube looks amazing on it. Let's talk about the layout of both programs. In Edius there's 5 basic elements to the layout. There's the monitor, the bin, the timeline, the information palette and the effects palette. These are completely customizable. You can move them any way you like. You can change the colour, the sizes and the positions. Edius has a sound mixer. It also has scopes that you can add to the display. If you have a second monitor connected to your computer, you can spread the windows between both monitors. In Final Cut Pro 10, we also have 5 elements to the screen. In the top left hand corner is the bin, beside that is the monitor, then the inspector. Below is the timeline and the effects menu. You can also choose to have the sound monitor in the bottom right hand corner. Unlike Edius, the screen is much more static in Final Cut Pro 10. You can't change the window positions, although you can resize the windows. One of the things you can change are the shortcuts. So if you're working with two different editing systems, as I am, at least you can have the shortcuts similar between them. These days, footage is recorded onto solid state media such as these SD cards. In Edius, you need to copy the files from your SD card onto your video hard drive. You can do this by dragging the folder from your SD card onto your hard drive and waiting for it to download. If you have USB 3, this is where fast SD cards come into their own. Once downloaded, to install the clip into your bin, either upload the clips to the main window, or if you have multiple cameras, you can upload your cards as different folders to help keep them more organised. You can even rename clips and change the clip colours. In Final Cut Pro 10, you can import clips by using the Media Import tool, which you can set to automatically duplicate clips to your library. You need to store your library on your video hard drive, which in this case is the Thunderbolt external RAID. You can create proxy files and ProRes files at the same time, although this can dramatically increase your import time. You can also copy files from your file manager straight into the Final Cut Pro 10 bin. So if you're struggling to import a clip, this is the next best way to get it into your editor. You can then convert it to proxy or ProRes manually if needed. This method leaves your clip name intact as it came out of the camera. You can rename clips in the bin to make them easier to find. Using the import tool organises your clip into different sections and renames them with the date of the shot, which in most situations is a better way than the standard 001. 002 that cameras generally produce. Editing on the timeline is generally the same for all editors. Final Cut Pro X has what they call a magnetic timeline, which is a little different than more traditional timelines such as what Edius has. It works by joining multiple lines of video together. So if you were to move one clip with other clips connected to it, it would move all the clips as one. It's very helpful for keeping all of the edits in sync, but it can be a bit of a bother too. You can also compound multiple clips into one combined clip to help keep your timeline tidy. And the compounded clip can be expanded again for you to see all the different elements. You can turn on the visual scrubber on the timeline so that the main video picture will show as you move the mouse up and down the timeline in real time. You also get a feedback on the sound too. This scrubber works in the clips in the bin, so you can see what the clip is before dragging it down onto the timeline. And you can also trim the clip in the bin before adding it to the timeline. The mouse scrubber can be turned off, allowing you to drag the playhead along the timeline instead, like other editors. Audio is dealt with on both timelines in different ways. For Final Cut Pro X, it's all in the inspector window. You can pick stereo or mono tracks, pan from left to right, and analyze the clips to remove noise or hum, or you can add loudness to the audio. The built-in equalizer has a few presets and is completely customizable. Volume is changed just by moving the horizontal volume line up and down, which also adjusts the height of the waveforms. You can change just part of the clip audio by using the range tool. Adjusting the start and finish volume is achieved by pulling the fade handle along the clip where you want the audio fade. You can detach the audio from the video by a simple right click, so you can lengthen or shorten the video or audio without affecting the other. In Edius, volume is controlled by the red line. Pressing the Alt key and then clicking the volume line and dragging it up or down changes the volume, just like Final Cut Pro X. You can also change the volume of a section of the clip audio between keyframes. Use the gadget on the left to switch between volume or pan. The blue line is the pan, moving the balance between left and right. Clicking the gadget again turns off control of both the volume and pan line. Right clicking and choosing Unlink will allow you to detach the audio from the video. You can group clips together to get the magnetic timeline effect you see in Final Cut Pro X, which can help to keep a selection of the timeline in sync while you move it. Unlike Final Cut Pro X, where everything is built into the inspector, the equalizer and other sound effects are added by a filter to the clip, which in turn opens another window to make the alterations.
Noodles and the egg then, egg yolk.
And so it is the same trend for adding other filters to the Edius timeline. While most of the main colour enhancements are built into the inspector window for Final Cut Pro X, you need to add a filter to Edius clips and then open the filter to edit it. Although basic in both editors, the main editing tools do a fine job of enhancing the colouring of the video, mainly colour balancing, saturation and contrast. Both systems offer a masking tool so that you can change just part of the image, though the Edius mask tool is much more advanced, with a wider variety of filters both inside and outside the mask. You can add as many different masks to a clip as you wish in both editors. Both editors have a wide range of filters for just about anything, from sharpening, keying and stabilisation. I would say that since Edius lost its free ProDAD Vitasine plugin, Final Cut Pro 10 has the upper hand in the effects department. Perhaps these kind of effects aren't for everybody, but in trailers they may have a place. Final Cut Pro 10 plugins are relatively much cheaper than they are for Edius, and there is a huge choice to choose from too. I have just recently bought some filters for Final Cut Pro 10 for flares and light effects. I've also acquired a great text tool so that you can hover titles next to a moving subjects in the movie. It's just very cool.